Welcome to our workshop with Rachel Lee. We are going to go ahead and start the meeting with our pledge so that everybody can feel connected to the United States. So with that, help me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone to our last workshop with Rachel Lee, which is a combination of all the different workshops. We're going to have an opportunity to focus and pick where we're going to go and what direction and what we're going to focus on for this workshop. So I'm happy to welcome one of our guests here who just signed in, Kazimierz Toskov. Thank you. Welcome to our meeting. We're happy to have you. So with that, I'll go ahead and introduce our hostess, our host for the day, Rachel Lee, who's been leading now a series of workshops, helping her friends, cast members from Walt Disney World find their way to another opportunity if they've not been invited back to Disney since we lost about 30,000 cast members in the pandemic. So with that, she went on a journey and went through a number of different things to find her way to another opportunity, which happened to be in Geico, and she seems to be happy, but it took a journey to navigate and figure it out. And she wants to share that, but also be available to see where you are having challenges and also try to redirect you in a way that would be most beneficial to you. So with that, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing and giving control to the virtual Zoom lectern, Rachel Lee. It's that way. No, this way.
It's different on every screen. You can keep doing this and somehow you'd be pointing in the right direction to me.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Oscar. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here to our 5th and final seminar. But don't get too sad too quick. These are going to be available for you to view online on YouTube at your viewing pleasure. And we do plan on keeping up with doing these every so often, maybe quarterly or so, just so that we can keep with the times and with the trends, because we know in the digital age living around us, nothing ever stays the same. So this series was put together, kind of like Oscar said, to help people who were struggling with their jobs because of the pandemic and everything that had happened in the workforce as we know it. And I've gone through a whole bunch of topics, including how to write a resume, how to actually interview for the job, where to find jobs. And we are recapping all of that today and also providing some of the most important information you are going to get. Avoiding scams, because in the 21st century, that is a favorite pastime of too many people for it to be healthy. So with the recap, we're going to give you guys all the tools to lead you to where you need to be, and then we're going to teach you how to be smart as you're going through those processes. First thing I want to offer to you guys is how to find jobs. As I've mentioned before, there's a lot to do online. There's websites that offer jobs. You can go directly to company websites, see what they're offering in terms of jobs. But also there's a thing called job fairs. If you've never heard of job fairs, it's basically a conglomeration of employers who are hiring or looking at talent, and it's them coming together in a designated space. Well, pre-corona, it was them literally coming together into a designated space to get to interact with all the attendees. Nowadays, there's a lot that are happening virtually, which means getting on software just like Zoom and being able to interact one-on-one or in a small group of employers who are hiring, just to figure out what they're interested in, if you qualify for positions, or if you like the feel of the company. There's a lot of places to find job fairs, and it is a little bit harder once you graduate. Your college is no longer sponsoring or promoting them to you. But what I put in the chat are just a few examples of online sources you can use to find job fairs. Government sites for your state or your county or your just general area are a wonderful place because you know they're providing accurate and safe information, and they're able to assist you in finding companies around you that are hiring. Unemployment can also be a pretty good resource to find out what jobs are hiring, what fairs are going on in your area, because they'll have that information being posted or being distributed for a variety of different ways. Google, you have to be careful because Google does not always have the most accurate, up to date, or safe information, but they do have the mass amounts of information. So a simple Google search, a job fair, my county, will be able to pop up a list of websites that have information that can provide that to you. It's really important that you try to look for .gov, .org, .edu sites because those ones are sites that not every person can just pick up and use. You have to go through specific means to get a .org, .gov, .edu, which means those are typically a lot more trustworthy than just a .com site. If you're part of a professional or a religious organization, oftentimes they'll be promoting things. They'll be saying, hey, we've got this cool event job fair going on, and they'll be able to connect you with job fairs and other hiring opportunities. Libraries, believe it or not, they're not just good for books for kids. They actually do try to do a lot to be active in their communities and provide resources for people who are searching for jobs, for people who want to get involved, for people who want to have access to companies. They're a really good middleman. If you're still in school, you're still connected with your school, you have any other institutions of that way, those are still going to provide opportunities for you, especially if you're a young alumni. A lot of schools love to say, hey, we're doing this thing for you. You recently graduated. Would you like information? So staying connected with your school is also a really great opportunity to get information about things like job fairs. And believe it or not, social media. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Not everything on social media is completely true, and there are a bunch of people online that you should not trust. But if you see a major company you know you like, you know you trust, and they post about going to a job fair on a certain day or so, you know that this is going to be a legit operation with a company you trust. And from there, you can meet a whole wide variety of other companies and perhaps find the job that you're kind of looking for. So with that overview, we're going to jump into everything that I have told you in the shortest summary possible, starting with our first seminar, which is about resumes and cover letters. Remember, on your resume, you have 10 seconds to impress the person who is reading your resume. That means you have to be very careful about what you say, how you say it, and how it is presented on the paper, because they are staring at black and white sheets or virtual sheets of paper all day. So you have to make yourself stick out in the right way possible. The most important thing to have is your name and your contact information, because if they're reading something and it seems interesting to them, but they don't know who you are, it's an absolute waste of your time and all of your efforts. So they need to make sure they know your name and how to contact you, because if they like you, they're going to reach out to you. They're going to want to interact with you. The rest of the information you're going to want to put is going to be about your education, your work experience, if you have any leadership or volunteer, and then any skills or awards you have. Now, what order you place these in kind of depends on you. Like me, I'm fresh out of college, so I have my college degree listed at the top of my resume right under my name. So I can show my employers that I'm educated. And though I only have a little bit of job experience, I have the degree to back it up. If you've been out of college for a while now, you definitely have a lot of job experience, put that at the top. Employers are going to love to see that you have that experience to be a part of their team. And then a little bit further down, put your education, just to show that you've taken time and skills to develop what you need to do to pursue these job options and to pursue these careers. When you're on your resume, you want to showcase 4 main skills to really wow the employers. You're going to want to show that you have technological skills, and that's basically proving to them that you can work common devices and that you can work common software. And I'm talking like Google and all their apps. I'm talking Microsoft and all of their apps, just to show that you have the ability to be an employee in the 21st century, and that you can also learn any basic software that that company particularly uses, so that they know you'll be able to work with what they're asking you to do. You want to also be able to show that you can learn and adapt. Like I said in the beginning, this is the 21st century and nothing is going to stay the same ever. So if you can prove to an employer that you're able to take in new information, process it, and then be able to provide the output that they're looking for, this is a really critical thing that you can show to them. For instance, on my resume, I actually have about 3 or 4 jobs listed in my experience section, and they're all from different industries. I'm talking leasing, theme parks, and insurance. These are very drastic and very different examples of industries, but they all together prove that I have the ability to learn and adapt into whatever industry or job that I'm going to be going into next. Employers, number three, also want to see that you have soft skills. Soft skills are interpersonal skills. So it's the ability to communicate, to interact, to empathize, to understand, and things along those lines. So being able to show that you have those are critical because sorry, not sorry, a lot of people in my generation are not good at having those skills. They're not really taught to us the same way they've been before. So being able to prove that you have those is essential. For me personally, I had an internship in Japan while I was in college. So I was able to prove my soft skills by talking about cross-cultural understanding and communication because Japan is a complete 180 culture from the US. So showing that I was able to successfully adapt and interact with people there is absolutely fantastic when you're talking about soft skills. And the fourth thing that companies want to see is dedication. Yes, it's okay to job hop, especially when we're in the middle of a literal pandemic. But you don't want to be excessive with bouncing around. You don't want to have a new job every 2 months. You don't want to have a new job every few weeks. You want to show the employer that you are dedicated and willing to stay in a position for an extended amount of time. Now, while I was in college, I had a new job probably every year just because of the way things changed in my education and in my studies and that. And that's okay because employers understand that you are first and foremost a student, you are next an employee. But as you get into the real world, employers really want to see that you stay in a job for a minimum of 1 year. And the more that you can stay in a job, the better it expresses for you. Now, of course, these rules might be a little different now that we're recovering from a pandemic, but being able to show that dedication in what you do, whether it be your work or your volunteer or leadership opportunities, is going to be absolutely critical and so important to having a good polished resume. Writing the cover letter. Everybody hates writing them, and I guarantee you almost everybody hates reading them. So don't worry, this is a mutual, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do this anyways, because the cover letter is going to prove that your employment with that company is mutually beneficial. It's not, I'm good for this job and I want this job and I this and I that and I this. It's we. It's the here's how I'm going to help you, here's how you're going to help me. Now, it's pretty obvious that here's how you're going to help me is that you're giving me a job. But here's how I'm going to help you is being able to show your skills, being able to express your gratitude for this opportunity, being able to showcase your enthusiasm because you're so excited about this opportunity and this job, and just to be in this role sounds amazing. The most important thing you can do, research the company and understand the job description that you're applying for. Believe it or not, nowadays most cover letters and even most resumes are not handed directly to a person. They're sent through a software that looks for keywords in your writing, and they won't send it to a person unless you pass that software test. Yes, you are being judged by a computer before you get judged by a person. Let that sink in. Just understand the company, understand what the job is asking for you, and then finding those keywords in the listings to put in your resume or your cover letter, and that's going to get you far. Big question everybody has when they're applying for a job. Am I qualified? Well, I mean, the worst they can say is no, so absolutely you are. But take that with a grain of salt as well. Don't apply for everything, and I'll explain more about this later. You want to know your hard and your soft skills. Hard skills being things like programming or tasks or something you can physically do. Soft skills, like I mentioned, being more interpersonal and is interacting with people. Soft skills are not exactly taught, they're more developed. So it's either you have them or you don't. Hard skills typically can be taught, but it depends on your level, depends on the level, of the skill. So if you're looking at a job and you see a listing of all the skills and you've met all the soft skills, you're really good at all that, and you see one hard skill that you haven't learned yet, but you think you probably can learn, then that job is worth your time to apply for. For example, I have a lot of customer service history. I've got a lot of like retail POS system history. So I could apply for a job to be a barista in Starbucks, even though I've never made any kind of coffee or drinks before, because making something like that is a hard skill, but it's easy to learn. I, however, despite having a lot of face-to-face communications interactions, could not apply to be a paralegal because I do not have the degree or the certification to be in that kind of position. And that's a hard skill that you can't teach when you have the job. So it's being able to balance what could I learn, what can I prove I can learn, and what I probably can't learn or probably need a very specific certificate or degree to do. Like, I don't know how to Python, I don't know how to code Python. I could figure it out, but I'd want to come into a job asking for Python before I do the application for that. Now, when you're actually interviewing, there's a lot of things that you have to do to prepare yourself. And that's going to be probably the most daunting part leading up to the actually walking into the interview. When you're interviewing, you're talking about yourself. So you should be an expert on yourself. But if you don't know your resume, it does not reflect well on you because you don't look like you know yourself. You don't look like you're an expert in yourself. And it's really bad when an employer asks you a question, you go, and you have to look down at what you wrote. So knowing your resume is really important because you want to be able to put yourself forward in that best light that you wrote down on paper and prove that you, well, are an expert to yourself. You also want to double check your social media presence. Guys, companies look at your social media, especially if you have public profiles and if you have multiple profiles. Hiring teams have dedicated personnel to look through all of your social medias before they interview you so that they get an idea of who you are and what kind of things you tend to do with your life. Now, I'm not saying don't go out, don't have fun, don't enjoy yourself. Do that on your own time and don't make it a point to excessively post about it. If you put out a post that says, hey, I went to my friend's 23rd birthday last night and we had fun, that's cool. But if you post a picture of you flat drunk on the floor with, poor decisions surrounding you, that's not going to reflect well on the company. And that's not going to be the kind of person that people want to hire. So I'm not saying don't have fun, but do it on your own time and do it privately because your social media is a reflection of who you are, the same way the social media of a company reflects who they are. You are effectively your own company. So understand how you're promoting and putting yourself out. Before you go into an interview, you're going to want to research the company. Nobody wants to walk into an interview and be like, so how'd you hear about us? The internet? Okay, what do you know about us? You sell stuff. No, does not look good on you. If you don't know the company, how does the company know that you're genuinely interested and invested in them? Do your research. Learn what the company does, learn their backstory, learn their history. Check out the people who are going to be interviewing you if you know who your interviewers are. Check out the people who work in upper level management, who are CEOs, who are in the C-suites, who are anything along those lines, to be able to talk about them like you know and you're genuinely invested in the company. That's important. Dressing professionally is also pretty critical when you're in this situation. You don't want to come in slacks and random t-shirts. You want to be able to present yourself, like I mentioned, as the best version of yourself because you're selling yourself as if you were your own company. It's pretty typical what everyone expects when you think dress professionally. If you were to watch Law and Order, your favorite kind of business TV show, when you see all the people strutting around in their suits, yeah, that's a pretty good idea to base business professional off of. You have a clean pair of slacks in a darker neutral tone color. For women, you can substitute that with a skirt or a dress that's again in a more darker, more neutral tone color. If you do have a shirt that's in a pop of color, kind of like the one I'm wearing here, that is just fine so long as it's more muted, there's not too many crazy designs, there's nothing drawing the attention away from you and who you are. And blazers are always a very critical addition. I don't know why the fashion world decided that a blazer is the epitome of professionalism. So acquire a blazer if you can and make sure it matches your pants or your skirt or even your dress. Just make sure everything is matching and well coordinated. For women, if you choose to wear heels, power to you, girl. I know we all feel so much better strutting around in a pair of heels, but make sure they're not excessive. I'm talking maybe a 3-inch heel at most. You don't want to be stumbling around like you came from a bar, no shade intended. And for everybody who wants to dazzle themselves up a bit, jewelry is okay, but keep it minimal. When you're going into an interview, you don't want to have too much more than a simple pieces, like the earrings I have. You want to minimize the amount of stuff on your wrist and your hands, and you don't want to have excessive neckwear. This world is becoming a little bit better at allowing both genders to dress and accessorize as they desire. So just understanding the company culture will change what you're going to wear and what you're going to do. For everybody who goes into interview, you want to think minimalistic. And that also extends to your makeup and your cologne. You want to make sure that you present your best self. And that does not mean caking your face with about 20 layers of foundation. It means accentuating your features in a natural and a gentle way. And it also does not mean covering everybody in a cloud of acts like it is a school gym. It means just being able to make sure that you're not smelly, that you don't have any BO, and that you're able to present yourself as a professional person. When you're actually going into the interview, you want to make sure you bring a small handful of things with you. You want to bring a printed out version of your resume. Yes, everything is digital. You sent the resume digital, but what if they can't pull it up? If you can just whip out your resume and say, hey, I've got it here, that is going to speak so highly of you. It's going to show you're prepared. It's going to show you care, and it's going to show that you really care about this position. If you feel comfortable bringing in a pen and paper, that's going to show that you're ready to take information in and that you can also make notes of important things as you're going through this interview process. And additionally, if they have any requested items from you, say you're going in for an artistic position, you could bring in a portfolio of all your previous work, just making sure that you have that there to display and sell yourself to the interviewer. Now, the day before, few critical things, or day before, day of, make sure that you're getting a good night's sleep. If a good night's sleep means bed at 10, rise at 7, good for you. If a good night's sleep means bed at noon, rise at 8, good for you. Sorry, bed at midnight, rise at 8. That means good for you, because you know your body. You understand how your body reacts to things so that you can put yourself in the best position to get ready for what's going to happen. Eat filling meals. The last thing you want to do is to be interrupted by a grumbling stomach as you're sitting there in a very awkward, very sometimes tense interview. So be sure that you fill yourself up, but you don't fill yourself up too much that you have to worry about anything coming out, just to make sure that you're satisfied and ready for the day. The day before, lay your clothes out so you know that they are put together, that they look well, that they're presented and pressed and everything to put together the best version of yourself. And if you have the opportunity, visit the location before. Just on a random day you have off, drive over, circle around the building, understand how long it takes to get there and back, know what the parking situation looks like, or anything along those lines to prepare yourself to physically go there. If you can't go there, leave copious amounts of time to get yourself there, because what could be a 10-minute drive down the street ends up being a 30-minute stop and go because of an accident. And it does not reflect very well on you if you're late, even if it's not your fault. Now, getting there early can be a little nerve-wracking. You're just kind of sitting in the car going, okay, do I go in now? Is it too early? Am I able to go in? Worst case scenario, you're sitting in your car for 20 minutes, reading over your resume and learning more about yourself. You probably want to actually go into the building about 10 minutes ahead of time. It shows that, yes, I'm here and I am ready to present myself. Anything more than that says, I'm too eager, please hire me. And anything less than that says, I don't really care. So being able to find that balance between when you should appear, present yourself, and not being too much or too little. Now things have changed nowadays that we have Zoom. Yes, there's so many interviews that are taking place over Zoom and phone calls and other digital methods. So understanding how to best prepare yourself for those is almost a 180 from regular in-person interviews. You don't have to worry about where you're going, but you have to worry about where you are. When you're going into a Zoom interview, you want to take note of what's around you. Take a look at what's behind you. For me, right now in my room, I have this beautiful gray wall, of course it's highlighted now, beautiful gray wall behind me that I'll move my camera closer to. So all you really see is the gray wall behind me. That prevents any distractions from all the exciting decor I have going on around me and really paints me in a professional light because it means I took time and effort into putting something normal behind me so that you could focus on me when you're the interviewer. We don't all have a perfectly gray wall that we can use. So just minimizing any distracting details will be able to allow the interviewer to focus on you rather than the surroundings. Check your lighting. Now, if I like turned and I completely faced the light, my very white face would appear even whiter. But if I turned away from the light, well, it's adjusted now, but you wouldn't be able to see my face, which does not lead to a good interview. So being able to balance your lightings, whether it be natural lighting or if I turn my light on, just so that you can present yourself so the interviewer can see you without worrying about getting blurred or darkened out. And like everything in technology, you have to check out your AV. Make sure that they can hear you, make sure that they can see you. Because if something goes wrong technically, it could pose a challenge to the interview and could not reflect well on your end. And believe it or not, the thank you note is still critical when you're interviewing, even if you do it virtually. If you have the opportunity to go in and do an interview, take a blank thank you card with you, leave it in the car, go do your interview. When you're all done with the interview, go back out to your car, write out a thank you note that says something along the lines of thank you for this opportunity. Here's a funny little quip from something we talked about today. I really appreciate your time. Go back into the building, bring it to typically reception and say, hey, can you give this to whoever interviewed you? You'll want to remember their name. And that is an incredible way for you to stand out amongst everybody else that's been interviewing. If you do interview virtually and you can't actually go into an office and snail mail takes forever, writing an email, if you have the email address, is also a really good opportunity for you to promote yourself as a very passionate and business person who cares about this job and who cares about this company. Now, we all get the question at the end of the interview, do you have any questions for me? The worst thing you can say in most cases is no, because it shows in ways that you're not invested, you're not interested, you didn't take time to learn about anything going on here. So even if the question is as simple as, yeah, when will I be hearing back from you regarding this? It's so critical to have a question ready because it shows of your investment. If that question has already been answered, here's a few that you can use. People love talking about themselves, and especially in a hiring manager position, there's somebody who's very social, who loves to interact, and no doubt people like to be experts. So asking these questions will help them feel like an expert. Ask them, why did you choose this company? What has your path been here? What is the day-to-day of this job going to look like? What is this company's biggest goals? What are common career paths to follow from this role? Describe your company culture to me. And if you, while you're looking up the company, see anything posted online about new promotions, new products, new anything along those lines, ask about those. The hiring manager is going to be so excited to talk about all the new things that the company is going to do. This is going to make you seem so cool and so interested in the company. Now, if you happen to develop a more personal relationship with your interviewer as you're going through the process, here's some more fun questions that you can ask them when you have that relationship. What roles will I have the opportunity to interact with doing this job? What is your favorite non-traditional benefit that the company offers? What would you recommend a new hire do to prepare for this job? Who do you consider as your company's top competitor? What qualities create a successful employee in this role? And my favorite, if you had unlimited funds, how would you support your team? These questions are a great opportunity to establish a deeper relationship if you already have a really good relationship with that interviewer after the hour or so you've been interacting with each other. Now, following up is something that most people aren't taught. Once you do submit an application or you do an interview, how long do you sit there and twiddle your thumbs until you move on to the next thing? The good rule of thumb, the good rule of thumb is that you want to wait ideally around a week for everything. Once you've submitted your application, give it about a week for them to follow up to you. Now, if the online applications have closed and they're not taking any more applications and it's been a week, give them about 3 more days, because a closed application means that they are actively reading through everything that's been submitted to them, and it means they're actively considering you. So give them a little bit more time. After everything has happened, and if you haven't heard back from them, if you're really passionate about the job, reach back out again, but sometimes nothing means no, so understanding that maybe it's time to move on. If you're in the middle of the interview process, you've done one interview, you're supposed to hear about doing a next one, and you haven't heard anything in a week, reach back out to them. That's that 1 week rule of thumb again. And after your final interview, if the interviewer doesn't say, you'll be hearing back from us in X number of days, it is perfectly fine at the very end to say, hey, so what's the rest of this timeline going to look like? When am I going to hear back from you? And you can always follow up once more if they give you a timeline that they don't meet. And like I mentioned before, guys, sometimes not hearing back means they're saying no. So you have to figure out if it's worth reaching back out to, only for them to reject or not reach back out to you. And this is a question that I personally struggled with as I was going through a job hunt recently. What if I miss an opportunity if I take this one? Or what if I miss an opportunity if I don't take this? When I first moved down in here to Florida just about a year ago, I was jobless and I had to search for a job in a job market that was crumbling because of the pandemic. So I was putting out hundreds of applications. Like, I kept a list of every job I applied for and every company I applied for and where my status was in that job application. And I heard back from maybe about 10% of those people and got an interview from a smaller percentage from that. I got interviews that when I walked out of, I decided, no, I don't think I'd see myself happy here. I don't believe that this is a job that's good for me. And I felt the need to turn them down. But after turning down a few of them, I got so desperately worried that what if I turned down an opportunity I should have taken? What if I'm not going to find a job anytime soon? And what if I'm going to run out of my savings because I didn't take this opportunity that I needed to? And it overwhelmed me. I called my parents crying one day and I said, am I not doing this right? Am I not doing enough? Am I doing something wrong? Should I have taken one of those opportunities? But then, things happened and I got job offers that I was kind of excited for. I got two almost simultaneous job offers that I think would have been amazing had I gone either way. And so I'm really glad that I hadn't taken any of those previous opportunities, because then I would have missed the two opportunities that had been presented to me. And I actually had too much choices. I had to then weigh out which job I wanted to accept. And I looked at everything between where I would be happy, if I felt like I would be able to grow in this place, if I would enjoy my job, if I would be able to survive off of what it was paying me. And it was just a really good feeling to be like, oh, look, I have to decide between two, but other than deciding between none. This is perfect. And I ended up in a job that I, for a point of time, really enjoyed, and it was exactly where I needed to be. And it gave me opportunities to grow where I don't know if the other ones would have allowed me to grow. So best thing you can do is to reach out to people who you trust and you feel like would be good advice to you. You have guts and you have instincts. So combining wisdom from trusted people and wisdom that you're giving yourself is the best thing you can do to figure out where you need to be. Now we go into the fun stuff. Has anyone ever had to negotiate a salary before? Oh, perfect, because I haven't either. Granted, that's because I've predominantly been in frontline roles, but I promise you guys, I do have a degree in this kind of stuff. While I've never negotiated a salary for myself, I've done it or studied it in college. So when a job is presented to you as X number of dollars per hour, I'm so sorry, that is not negotiable. That rate is probably set by like high level corporate that is even above the heads of the managers, for your managers, for your managers, for your managers, and that kind of thing. But when you get a job presented to you as X number of dollars per year, that's typically going to be something that's more negotiable. Think about it this way. Rachel would never be able to negotiate her salary at Central Perk, but Dwight would be able to negotiate his salary at Dunder Mifflin. If you're ever confused about what you may or may not be able to negotiate, just imagine it being, in a fictional universe. Where would this job fit in the Office world or in the Friends world? And if you think a character could negotiate their salary, you're probably going to be able to do it yourself. Now, negotiating a salary is the very last thing you will do before you accept an offer. You're going to have all the information up front. Your employer will typically say, hey, this is going to be about, I don't know, $40,000 a year, and then here's all the job descriptions. So you're going to have time to sit and think on whether or not this is a salary you want, if this is a salary you think you could negotiate, and how you want to proceed from there. When you're looking at negotiating a salary, I always recommend understanding what your monthly expenses are going to be. So think about rent and utilities and any debt you have to owe, groceries, and anything else you might need to afford on a monthly basis. Add them all up, and that is minimum how much you should be making a month. On top of that, add on a little bit for savings. Guys, savings is extremely important, and if no one has told you how important that is, let me say it now. I have a 401k and I am 22 because I know someday I'm going to retire and I'm going to be wanting to going to Disney every other weekend still. So being able to have that savings to, pay for Disney, but also pay for important things like mortgage or whatever else I might have in terms of necessary expenses. Having that savings is going to be critical on top of just paying your monthly expenses. Now, the next step up from expenses, savings, next step is going to be what your worth is. So as long as that base salary can cover those first two sections, anything else is just how fabulous you are. And I can go more into depth into figuring out how much you're worth. But if you see a salary meets where you need to be for expenses and savings, it's up to you whether or not you want to negotiate more. If you do feel like you're worth more and you want a few extra $1,000 annually, it's completely acceptable to go to your boss and say, hey, I see that the starting salary here is about $40,000 a year. I think I'm closer to worth about $43,000 a year, and start the negotiations from there. You're never going to want to just skyrocket the amount you're worth because that's a little egotistical and they might not be so excited about having you as an employee there. So don't skyrocket a $40,000 salary to a $50,000 annual salary. You're only going to add on a few thousand, maybe just even a few hundred more, just to say, hey, I think I'm worth this much, and then negotiating them into finding a little bit. If you do feel that you're worth more than 40,000, say you feel you're worth about 43, well, put it up to about 44, because they're going to negotiate back down to where you believe you are. So just understanding you don't want to ask for excessively too much. But the idea, if you could fit $1,000 in your hand, that's probably about as high as you want to go in terms of negotiating additional. All right, water break because I have talked way too long to you guys. Give you guys a minute to take that all in. Just think about that because I'm going to talk to you guys about scams next and how to search smart online. The internet is terrifying and the internet is scary, but the internet is going to be one of the best resources you can use as you're going through this job hunting process. A very quick trigger warning to anybody who is listening right now or who is going to be watching this. When we post it online, this next minute or so is going to talk about kind of into heavy stuff. So if there's anything that might frighten you, take your headphones out for just a minute or skip ahead in the video just a minute so you don't avoid anything that might be too much for you. There's a lot of scams that exist on the internet, and some of them are just trying to get your money. Some of them are trying to get your personal information, but there are a lot of them that target young women, young college students, and people who are in positions where they're vulnerable. There are a lot of scams that exist for the purpose of sex trafficking. There's been a whole lot of talk on the internet. I've seen a lot of like Reddit threads and Tumblr threads of young women who get just like out of the blue letters about a job opportunity to apply for, and they end up going to these places and they turn out to be places created for sex trafficking because they want to draw in the young vulnerable women, young vulnerable college students, just anybody who's in a vulnerable position, offering them this job that sounds so amazing, this opportunity that like how could they pass up on it when they're just pulling them in for so many negative, terrible reasons. So understanding that these kinds of things exist, we want to tell you guys how to be smart, how to understand what's a real job opportunity, what's a good company, how to figure out if a company is really legit or if it's just a scam. So now, to lighten the mood, I'm going to play a little game with you guys. I'm going to have you either give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or if you prefer just to use the little emojis on Zoom, thumbs up if you think that this company name is a real company, or a thumbs down if you think this company name is not a real company. I'll give you about 3 seconds to decide. The first company, Safeway. All right. My second company, Bye Bye Baby. Oh, we were a little mixed here. All right. My third company, Stark Industries. Oh yeah, come on. I know I have the nerds here, you guys. You should have gotten that one. All right. My fourth company, Oceanic Airlines. Okay. My next one, Yik Yak. All right. And then my last one, GlobeX. All right, we were a little mixed bag here. Good for you guys. Everybody got Stark Industries. I was not worried about that. But here's a few. Bye Bye Baby is a legitimate company that sells baby clothing and toys and everything along those lines. Yik Yak was a very popular social media site similar to Reddit, where you in real time sent messages to everybody who was around you in like this crazy group chat. And people in high school often use them that said, okay, at 12:59, we're all going to scream, yeah. And then when 12:59, everybody who had read the message, they'd just scream, yeah. And everyone around them would be so weirded out. But things like Oceanic Airlines does not exist. GlobeX does not exist. So you see how hard it is, just based upon the company name, Stark Industries excluded, to differentiate what was a real company and what was not a real company, which means it's so important to be doing your research into what is legit and what is not. The best possible way to figure out whether or not a company is real, and of course, this is like a 90% accuracy rate, 99% accuracy rate, nothing is ever going to be perfect, is to go in and be a customer into that store or whatever company it is. If you're able to go in person, you can see the location, you can see what the business looks like, you can see if the store or the business is kept up, you can see what the neighborhood the business is in looks like, you can see what the product looks like, if it's quality or if it's absolute trash, and you can understand the customer service that the company provides. Now, if you can't actually go into location, COVID and everything, you can also call in and act like you're going to be a customer to that company just to understand what the quality of the good or service they're putting out is. When I was on my very wonderful job hunt last year, I had found a company online that was hiring for travel agents. I was evidently very naive and I didn't see anything wrong with that. And I did not do my research into the company before I went. And when I got to the location, I'm pretty sure it was located in one of the really old, like Disney store discount shops, and was located next to a abandoned McDonald's with just piles of dirt in the parking lot, to the point I texted my boyfriend. I'm like, this is my location. If you don't hear from me in an hour, that means something is wrong. Please send help. But I had thought that the company was legit based upon what I had heard from them, what I'd seen of them, and I got fooled. And then one of my next jobs afterwards was from a company I had never heard about. It was a local nail salon. It is just right outside my apartment complex in a shopping center that I know and I trusted. And because I knew the neighborhood, because I had driven by it, because my Publix is right there, it was a legitimate company that had genuine establishments and a really good quality of their products and their services. If you don't have the opportunity to go into a company or you want to dig further, do an incognito or a private web browser search to learn more about the company, so you don't have to worry about the cookies or whatever bias that your search engine will give you. You just get a perfect flat indication of what the internet thinks of this company. Find if they have a Better Business Bureau page. That is going to tell you so much about a company, if they're legit, if they're accredited, if the literal Better Business Bureau set by the government says that this is a good, legit company that you can trust. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. For instance, the people who write negative reviews on the Better Business Bureau are coming because they are pissed. And they might not always be rightfully pissed. It might be something that the company couldn't help. So understanding that negative reviews happen. It's kind of inevitable, but take a critical look. Is this person actually angry because it was a bad experience, or are they angry because they're a little Karen and they didn't get your way? While you're looking at Better Business reviews, take a look at Google, Yelp, and other review sites. Read through a variety of the reviews. Look for the good ones. Say, okay, are these people actually genuinely excited about this company? Or were they paid to say these things? Take a look at the negative ones. Again, were they angry because this is not a good business? This is not what you should be looking for? Or were they angry because they didn't get their way? Take time to search the company name bad reviews so that the first thing that pops up is going to be all the negative stuff said about the company. It's inevitable, it's going to happen, there's going to be negativity, but if you see a smaller amount of negativity or a confined amount of negativity, it means that there's a lot of good things for the company. Fun story time. When I was a freshman in college, one of the first week people I was approached by was someone who was a part of a church off campus. I am religious, so I was looking for a home church to have while I was in college. And I got the name of the church, I got the name of the person who had contacted me. And I said, cool, yeah, I'll see about visiting you guys on Sunday. And I went home that day and I called my parents and I'm like, oh my gosh, I might have found a church. I'm gonna go check it out on Sunday. And they were like, okay, cool, what's the name of this church? I gave it to them. And my dad just said, Rachel, Google them. So I popped up on my computer, I Googled them, and the first headline that came up was church name cult. And I went, oh no. I almost joined a cult. And I love telling that story because I think it's so funny. But it's also a really good example of what a simple Google search is going to do to save you from nightmares, disasters, and other things along those lines. When you're looking up a company, take a look at their website and their social medias. Think about it. Would you want to talk to a person who really doesn't have a social media presence? Not really for my generation. You wouldn't just have somebody reach out to you on Facebook and they don't have any other social medias. It's kind of not trustworthy. It's what we nowadays call catfishing, probably. So if you have a company that doesn't have a good website, that doesn't keep their information up to date, that doesn't have a good social media presence, you're probably getting catfished or you're probably getting scammed. Compare their websites and their social medias to companies you trust and have a good social media presence, just to figure out if they seem legit to you. If they do put a phone number, if they do put an email on their website, copy and paste those contact informations and put them into an incognito browser. The first link that should pop up should be that company's website if this is a legit phone number, if this is a legit email address, so that the internet can make those connections for you and you don't have to worry about getting scammed by those. If the company lists out any employees, or you look on their LinkedIn and you see that X number of people are listed as employees, look into those people. See, do they have LinkedIn's? Do they have Facebook's? Do they have Instagrams? And if you look through their social medias and these people seem legit, then it's a pretty good representation that the company is also legit. And sometimes none of this works out. You can do your best job at vetting a company and you still go in and you find out it's a complete train wreck scam and that you shouldn't trust it. That's how life works some days. People are really good at faking things on the internet. You have to understand that it's never going to be perfect and you're never going to figure out everything entirely. But even if that thought terrifies you and you want to go one step further into validating a company, talk to the neighbors that are around the business. Say, hey, have you heard of this company before? Do you know what they do? Do you know anything about them? Because the neighbors of the business see this company's interactions day in and day out, and they can give you the best idea of what this company looks like. Reach out to competitors to the company. Say, hey, have you ever heard of this guy? Do you know if they're legit? Because the competitors are the ones who are actively investigating their other businesses to understand whether or not they pose a real threat to their personal company. And if you ever just want to let loose and have some fun, go on YouTube and watch videos of people who are calling out scammers. Watch their tricks and their techniques, because not only is it really funny, but it also gives you tools to understand whether or not a company is legit or they're just trying to mess with you. Some big red flags when you're looking at a company are going to be these. First of all, commission only pay. This one can go either way. You probably never heard of the company Ernest& Young. This is a major financing company that is, believe it or not, I believe it's a Fortune 100 company. Because they're in finance, a lot of their work is commission only pay. But because they're a legit company, commission pay is just fine. But if you find a little John Doe Broker LLC and they're like, we do commission only pay, no, I can promise you right now, you're not going to see as much money as they're promising you, and you're going to do probably double the amount of work. So just take note of what commission only pay, when commission only pay is offered, and determine, do I know this company? Can I trust this company? And if you can, commission is fine. Also, like I mentioned before, look for no socials, no websites, or inactive socials or websites. Because that means the company doesn't care about their social media presence. And hello, we are in the 21st century. If you are not online and you are not interacting socially, then you're a hole in the ground. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure you can go on Instagram and type hole in the ground, and someone will have put together a social media page for a legit hole in the ground. So the hole in the ground is doing better than you. Think about that. Watch out for companies who do sales pitch sessions when they're really just trying to get something from you. I, in my job hunt, went to a information session for a company that offered commission only pay, two big flags right at once, and it just did not seem like a legitimate company because they were desperately trying to sell me on this job instead of trying to figure out how we could interact with each other and grow from me being a part of this job. Watch out for big promises. You're going to make big money. Guys, if that doesn't just say red flag to you, you might as well just go join that hole in the ground. Anywhere that has a residential address is going to be another red flag, unless you personally know this company. So if my friend Jimbo here is doing a startup and right now he's working out of his house because that's all he can afford right now, yeah, he's my friend. I know he's working on this. I trust him. But if Zippity Doodah comes from the middle of nowhere and says, hello, come work at my house, I have a company here, big red flag. Like I said, a lot of that can go back to what I mentioned before about what scams can sometimes do to people. If a company asks you to pay something up front, guys, big red flag. A company should never ask you to pay them or provide them anything. You also want to protect your personal information, so don't give out something like a social security number or very deep personal information on an application. Most applications should just be, here's my name, here's my cell phone and or my email, here's my previous work experience, here's my previous education experience, and here's a reference or two. Yes, I agree to give you this information. That's typically all that an application should be. Anything more, little bit of a red flag. Just keep that in mind. If you get contacted out of the blue, just randomly, just, hi, Rachel, we have a job we're so excited to give you. That's not good. How did they find you? You're not sure. You can't be sure they're legit. If you get an email at 3 a.m., also a red flag, because 3 a.m. here means something else on the other side of the world. Ooh, also probably not very legit, not something you want to trust. If you see that there are noticeable spelling or grammar errors, like nobody's perfect, but if you look at it and you say, okay, is this hieroglyphics or Japanese? It's probably not a trusted company either. And if they just give you a small amount of generic info, like come work customer service, and that's it, probably not going to be a good company to work for either. Now, in terms of searching for jobs, like I said before, you cannot search everything and expect to read everything that is on the internet. This is no longer the classifieds on the newspaper. There is more job postings in existence than you could read in your lifetime if you started now and never stopped. Think about that. So when you're doing your job hunting, you want to be able to narrow it down so much so that you don't have to feel like you are scrolling through everything just to come up with nothing. You want to look at company websites. Now, company websites are 99% and a grain of salt trustworthy for job postings. If you go into middleman sites like LinkedIn or Indeed, there's going to be a decrease in the trustworthiness of that company and of the postings. But you just have all these tools that I've just given you on how to find a legitimate company. use those as you're looking online. When you're going through listings of jobs and job sites, you want to understand what your degree and your coursework experience is. You want to think about the past work experiences you've had. And you also want to think about your skills and your areas of knowledge. It's going to be these three things that are going to lead you to where you want to start searching, where you want to find jobs, and where you are going to find what job you're going to take. You're going to want to look for companies that are in your field. If you have a communications degree, you're probably going to want to look at journalism journalism companies. You're going to want to look for news companies or anything that allows you to have those kinds of very important interactions. Look for large companies. Disney's hiring again. So I know this company and I trust this company. Even if I didn't work for it before, I know it's legit and I would be 100% safe and secure applying for them. Look for companies that you've taken classes on. I took a few marketing classes when I was in college, so I would be able to look for companies that work just in marketing or advertising or have those kinds of things. Look for roles similar to your previous jobs. I've done a lot of retail in my experience, so going to a big box retail chain would be a great place to start myself up, but then also work myself up in my career. And look for companies that are hiring in your skills. If you know you can do software like Python or other codings and a company is hiring for it, go for it. Look for that company. Figure out where your skills are going to be best utilized and understood. Remember, whether or not you know the company or if you know the industry, there is so much you're going to have to learn. When I first started working for Disney, I had an advantage. I was really good at customer service. I was really good at interacting with people. And I knew Disney because I had gone there growing up. So I knew the company and I knew the parks. All I really had to learn was where things were in the stockroom and how to work a POS system. And then when I moved over to Legoland, I had that theme park experience. I just had to learn a new park and how to work heavy machinery. But when I went to work for a nail salon, I had really good customer service, but I know nothing about nails and manicures and everything along those lines. I'm still not sure what a no chip is. I struggled to learn that industry despite being white girl, thinking that I would be able to just figure out how manicures work. But now I'm with Geico and I understand insurance more than I do nail salons and spas. And I've never worked in insurance before, and it is a very difficult industry to learn, but it's something that I understood better, I understood easier, and was able to figure out despite not having any experience in it. And as you're looking through these jobs, you have to prioritize what's most important to you. Commonly, it's a few things. It's going to be your pay, it's going to be the hours you're guaranteed, the location the job is in, the commute you have to take, the company name or reputation, the job title or the job description. And being able to prioritize which of those is most important to you is what you're going to base your entire job hunt off of. Believe it or not, guys, TikTok has a lot of amazing opportunities and a lot of great content out there that is provided to you for free. There are people whose literal jobs it is to hire people, to encourage public speaking abilities, people whose jobs it is to prepare you to go into interviews and to go through the job process. And they put out free content that they normally make money off of. So utilizing things like YouTube and TikTok and other social medias where people post this stuff is the best way for you to start developing yourself because they're giving you all the tools. You just have to teach it to yourself. And with that, we have done everything we've ever talked about and then some. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to spend with us. We do have a little extra time remaining, so Oscar, if you would send out the poll, we're gonna give you guys what we call our pillar poll, and this is gonna be everything that we've talked about and then some. So if you are interested in hearing about anything else, whether it be one of the things listed here or something other, go ahead and pick an answer. I want to give you guys the most information that you could ever need, and I want to be able to answer your personal questions. So if you do see something on the list you want to talk about, check that off. We're gonna get it sent to you guys. Or if you see something not on the list that you want to learn about, I want to be able to teach that to you guys right now. So submit those, and then Oscar, once you have at least 3 answers, maybe 2, whether or not George wants to vote, let me know what the people are saying. And if you don't want to hear me and you just want me to shut up, just tell me. You got it, Oscar?
Okay, yeah, I have at least 3. We're looking at setting up a LinkedIn. There's 67% want to do that. Answering interview questions, we have the other 33. So those are the 2 that were selected. Setting up a LinkedIn and answering interview questions.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to share my screen with y'all, and we're going to work through LinkedIn first. So LinkedIn is very similar to any social media site. If you've ever set up a site before, it's pretty similar to that, and you shouldn't have to worry about so much setting up an account, but how to put your account together. Another thing I recommend for people to have is going to be a burner email address, the same way you would have like a burner phone number. Just something that you could send all of your spam to that you really don't care about. Like when you go to a mall and they're like, give us your email, we'll give you Wi-Fi. I put in my beautiful burner email that I'm like, I don't care about. It's not set up on my phone. It's not anything. I barely even check it. But that's what I'm going to use to show you guys how to do a LinkedIn today. So it's really easy. You go to linkedin.com, you give them your email or your phone number, and you give them a password, and that's how you're going to start up your account. I'm trying to join, please and thank you. Okay. Guys, don't worry. This millennial is struggling with technology over here. You are not alone. It's all of us. It's not you, it's all of us. And yes, I definitely do recommend to everybody who's doing anything with technology, read through the agreements, read through the privacy policies, read through the cookie policies. I'm already on LinkedIn, so I've already read through them. And then a lot of places will have you pick a username. Changing your username on LinkedIn is a lot of fun, trust me. But you're going to present yourself, how you want to be called. You don't have to put your actual legal name right there. You're just going to want to put in what you want to be referred to and what you professionally are referred to. I don't know what a security check is. I think it's going to ask me, am I a robot? To which the answer is yes. I don't know. What? Guys, I am a robot. I know that.
What?
Okay, so we've confirmed that I'm really good at passing these tests. This is pretty standard. They just want to make sure you're not a robot, especially since I'm in an incognito browser, just so I can show you guys the actual process because I'm already signed up. Just give you an idea of what things look like. And it is pretty normal, especially on LinkedIn, to get questions like this to say where you are. That's because LinkedIn provides a lot of job opportunities. So they don't want to show you a job from California if you're located here in Florida. So it's just figuring out where you are so that they can give you the best information. So this is where you're going to start putting together your previous experience. LinkedIn is really focused on what you've done in the past so we can figure out what you can do in the future through your connections. You are going to have a lot of opportunities to let them know where you've worked. I can't spell, write, and type. Don't ask me, friends. But they're going to look at where you've worked, where you're working now, and then what kind of jobs you're looking for or opportunities you have. Oh, okay. I did not put this through. So like I said, I really don't have this email pulled up. So I don't exactly have access to it at the moment to get that confirmation. But I will show you guys my actual LinkedIn page so that I can give you an idea of what it's going to look like once you go through that sign-in process. All right, now it's doing the wonderful buffering. So once you do get fully set up and you do all the confirmation and you're getting ready to put together your LinkedIn profile, this is going to be what your dashboard kind of looks like. You're going to have all of your information. You're going to have a regular feed, kind of what typical social media profiles are going to look like. And then stuff on the side. I don't know, guys. I definitely don't use LinkedIn as much as I should, and I definitely recommend you do it more. But when you're working on putting yourself together, you are basically, you're writing a resume for yourself on this website. So if you're just looking at the top of my profile right here, I have a profile picture. That's very important. When you're going through the sign-in process, you do have to let LinkedIn know that you want your profile picture to be viewed by everybody. Unless you're very private and you don't want that, I do recommend showing your profile picture, because if you see John Doe pop up in your friends request, you're like, okay, who's this guy? I don't know who he is. And if there's no picture to associate with the name, you might be missing an opportunity that you could have had. On top of that, it lists it lists my current experience, it lists my job and my college, just to show people what I'm doing, where I've been, and things along those lines. Dashboard is private, so only you'll see that. This is just if you really, really want to get into LinkedIn experience and really grow yourselves via this website, that's there for you. But what you're going to see next is you're going to see the about. This is your elevator pitch. This is your 30-second short paragraph selling yourself and who you are to the people who reach your profile. Very similar to the resume, you're going to have 10 seconds to sell somebody on your profile. So having the picture to say, I'm a real person, even though I can't pass those verification tests, and the about to say, yes, I have this experience, and I've had these opportunities, are going to be a great thing to showcase who you are and show yourself just upfront and the amazing things that you can do and you can provide. So in my about, I do have my degree because I had just graduated. So I've got all that information there. And then I've also talked about the fact that I've worked in a lot of different industries and I've had a lot of different job opportunities. So I have a lot of skills that make me really excited to be in the job that I'm going to go forward. Then you have all of your experiences and everything that you've done. You're going to have the list of the company, your title, how long you've been there, approximately where it is. And then you have the opportunity to add on different job descriptions. Now, a lot of this stuff is actually copy and pasted from my resume into this list here. So it makes things really easy when you're putting it together. And you can also write these things out here and then copy paste that into your resume, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got one or the other, easy peasy. You just have to do one of them. It then also goes to list your education to just show you have that experience. And this is really cool with LinkedIn, is that it allows you to show your skills and then allows you your connections to vouch for your skills. So like right here, this was one of my college classmates. We got together and we talked about our LinkedIn. We worked on our LinkedIns together, and then we worked in a group project. So we vouched for each other in these skills, and you have the opportunity to add in a variety of skills and then also have people who've worked with you or gone to school with you say, yes, this person has this skill and I can say that they were amazing at it, which is really good for employers to see, because it means not only are you confident you have this skill, but then others are confident that you have these skills. And then everything below is just going to be what I call, the additional section, just the fun, here's my connections and XYZ. Now, here's the really fun stuff about LinkedIn. It's not as easy to navigate things as it is other social media sites. When you're going to change your URL, it's not easy to actually change. You have to go through the entire section. You can't just hit settings, like change my username. You have to go through and you have to edit your username after you have made your profile. So you have to go in and make that change up here. It took me so long, and I printed out business cards with my long number letters URL before I was told that I could change it. So I had to go back and reprint all those business cards. But once you go in and you can edit, you can change what things look like on your page, how your page is viewed by others, especially if you can see here on the right-hand side, what details you're showing to the public, what details you want to keep private, anything along those lines. I'm going to pop back and I want to show you guys what it looks like to add a piece of experience. So when you're adding experience, like I said, this is exactly what you put on your resume and exactly what's going to come on or off your resume. It's very simple. You're going to list your title, what role you are, what your job title is. It does ask for employment type. See, it tells me to put my title. It does ask for employment type. I believe that's optional, so you don't have to put that out there. And then it gives you the ability to put in other things like the company name, so that you can associate yourself with the company, where it is, so you can show your location, and it even allows you to set up a timeline of when you've been a part of this company, when you've held that role. And then you could also give the option, if this is your newest opportunity, to update your headline. And that was the thing at the very top where you saw my profile picture, just to show to anybody who looks at your site, this is what I'm doing now. Here's all about me. And the description is those little bullet points that I shared, just to show what you've done in this role, what your opportunities have been, and everything else along those lines. You do have the option to upload media. This is especially good if you're, working in sort of artistic role and you've got, paintings or anything that you've made. You can upload and share those here so that people can see your portfolios nice and easy. I think that's everything in terms of setting up a LinkedIn. Did we have any questions regarding LinkedIn? I can answer before I jump to whatever the second thing was.
Yeah, the second thing is answering interview questions.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
Can I do a quick question here?
Yeah.
Oh, how successful has LinkedIn been for you, and how did that help you in your job search?
Yeah. LinkedIn I definitely haven't utilized it as much as I should have. I definitely do not make as many connections with people that I need to. And it personally hasn't been the same help for me that I do see it with other people. People who are a lot more social than me, guys, I'm really an introvert, have been able to connect with people through their schools, through their companies, and people who have also been to their schools or work for their companies and are able to interact with those people to allow them growth opportunities and also to learn about jobs. I have a lot of friends, like I'm not social enough, I'm not good at it, but I have a lot of friends who in the business school reached out to people on LinkedIn at companies they were looking at and were able to get information about the jobs and the companies. And then we're able to go on to get those jobs in those companies because they did their research and they made genuine connections. George, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say my company a number of years ago required us to sign up for LinkedIn. And when we did, I was a branch manager and there were 500 other branch managers. So all of a sudden we started linking with each other. And it made a better camaraderie throughout the company. And at the same time, now that I'm out of the company, I still have many of those friendships that are still going. So LinkedIn is a nice place to be able to, you can pull back. And it's not like Facebook at all. I mean, it's more professional. And so you feel better about it and your connections there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So LinkedIn is definitely less sending memes to one another, but I'm actually connected with some of my professors from college, and it was like a year or so ago. CU, my college, ended up posting something about, using Zoom as we were starting in the pandemic, and I was included in the article. So one of my professors sent me via LinkedIn that article that my college had posted. He's like, I see a face there, and I'm like, that's my face. And that's just like a cute little connection that we have, that it's similar to something you do on Facebook, but it wasn't Facebook. So yeah, LinkedIn does definitely have a Facebook feel, and that's why it's probably not cool with the kids nowadays. LinkedIn stories, anybody with me on that? But it is still really important.
Professional, way more professional.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still really important to have. I know people who have found jobs from LinkedIn. I did a lot of my job applications via posts on LinkedIn. And the best thing about LinkedIn is that when you apply for a job, you can then look up the job on LinkedIn. You can figure out who the hiring managers are, and you can reach out to them via LinkedIn. That works out really well. Okay, did I get all the LinkedIn questions?
Well, just real quick. Now, let's say I'm not signed in with LinkedIn, but let's say I signed in with LinkedIn, and then what's the first step? You showed me all, you put your resume, you put your, you copy paste stuff in there. But now, let's say I was friends with you, since you're in LinkedIn, and I'm friends with George, right?
Yep.
I know both of you. Now, and I put out, let's say I'm looking for a job, right? That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And now you say you don't go on it very much. You found a job, you're in a comfortable place, right? But But now, if you kind of had me in the back of your mind, and you're thinking, you heard, hey, Geico's hiring over here, maybe Oscar, is interested in that. Would that be how it's used? You would.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If I was, especially if I was in some sort of higher role with Geico, and I had permission for my company to post it and stuff, I could post onto LinkedIn and I'd say, hey, my company's hiring. Here's the link. Put my name in for the referral and we'll get you moving along. And so then you connected with me as a LinkedIn user would see that pop up on your regular feed and be able to access it from there. There's also an entirely separate tab on LinkedIn that is just job postings for your area. So you can get postings from jobs with, even if you don't have connections, you can see those jobs posted as you would on something like Indeed or on an actual company website.
I think LinkedIn would help as well if you're an actual employer, not just someone looking for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The business that you have, like for instance, your dad, if he had a LinkedIn account, he could promote his own business and other people get more exposure to his business as well. So it works both ways.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely like that too. And LinkedIn does something really cool. So they have what they call degrees of connections, or they might refer to it as like friendships or connections. But if like you're a first degree contact, if you're a first degree friend, it means you follow them and they follow you back. So, like me and Oscar, we know each other in person. If we follow each other on LinkedIn, we're going to be first degree friends, first degree contacts. But then when Oscar has friends that he knows that I don't yet know, we're going to be another step away. So we're going to be second degree contacts. And then their friends the next step away are going to be third degree contacts. So you can reach a wide variety of people if you have that one friend. Because that one friend means they've got other friends, and that other friend means they have other friends. So you can really grow your, pun intended, web of friends and interactions just by understanding, how separated you are from that individual person, which I think is a really cool idea.
Yeah, are you saying maybe not for as much for entry-level jobs, but now that you're, say, in a more established position, this is going to help you? Is that?
Yeah, I'm not going to go for a McDonald's job via LinkedIn.
Right.
Nothing against, well, a lot against McDonald's, but in the nicest way.
But Oscar, one thing we saw, at least in my work, where we were able to recommend each other for sales or service, and you give recommendations to your friends, and you kind of pile them up. You get a whole bunch of recommendations coming in from your friends, and it makes your resume look better.
Well, that's huge because employers don't do that anymore. You call them and they say, oh yeah, they work here. That's it.
But your friends are, connections here on LinkedIn would do that.
That's awesome. Well, good.
And you don't even have to ask, they'll do it for you because they know you're going to do it for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'll be your friend, Oscar.
Yeah.
Excuse me, you would vouch for me?
No, I'll be a friend with
oh,
you.
That would be a friend. Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I got to get on LinkedIn right away. Then I could have 3 friends, looks like. I don't know about Kelsey. I'll have to work on her a little bit. I'll try to be nice to you. I'll say you're a good person, you can say, but I'll even say, hey, or whatever they say in Canada. But I'll try to connect. Good. We got, is it 11 minutes? Is that where you're trying to stay in the time frame?
Yeah, I was hoping for an hour and a half with this. If we went to 2, I would stay here. But if anyone has to hop off, no hard feelings. I got thick skin, guys. I promise I'm an oldest child. No worries. We did also have people wanted to learn more about answering interview questions. Yes, it is not as easy as it appears to be. And I have 6 years of business training teaching me how to answer interview questions. It is very difficult to master answering interview questions because you have to balance sharing the truth, talking about yourself, and not being overly talkative. Like here in Toastmasters, we time what we talk about. So we develop an idea and understanding of how long we're talking for. So we don't feel like we're going on and on and on, and we're wearing out the interviewer and they're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, when is this person going to shut up? I just want to ask them this question. And it's the understanding of what you're saying and how you're saying it. So a very common question that everybody loves to get is, tell me about your strengths. Well, they're not going to want you to sit there and talk about all these skills you have and what you're able to do and stuff. They want you to pull out one specific thing that you're very confident about, that you're very proud of, that you feel you can back up with a story. Stories are really good, you guys. You don't want stories that, continue on and are a whole Harry Potter series, but you do want stories that can back up what you're saying. So if I could say that one of my strengths is interacting with kids, I can say, oh yeah, so back when I worked in Disney, that's a great thing. Everybody loves it when you can say you worked for Disney, or you're able to reference a company that is seen very highly of. You could say, yeah, back when I worked for Disney, I had this job where I got to play with robots. And so I would tuck the controller behind my back and I'd make the robot look like it was going on their own. And the kids just got so excited about it. So I showcased my strength of interacting with kids and being able to create like a entertainment and play kind of environment for them. And then I backed it up with a story showing that this is something that I did and it's something I have the ability to do. Now that's a very loose example. That's just a very fun, lighthearted example. But if one of your strengths is a specific sort of software and you're very proud of the ability to work in this complicated software, you could talk about an example where you and your colleagues were just sitting there staring at it for like hours and you couldn't figure out what was wrong with the program until you did XYZ and you figured it out and you solved it all for everybody. So just being able to support your answer with a story is a great way to start it. Do not be afraid to pause. There is there's 3 options for you to do when an interviewer asks you a question. So right after they ask you a question, you could come back with an answer. If you immediately know the answer, perfect. Just start talking and start providing that answer. The second thing you can do is sit there and go, and that's the worst thing you can do. That was just really awkward for you guys to see me sitting there and going, and the interviewer doesn't want that either. If you find yourself going, in your brain, out loud, just go, and don't make any sound because they know you're thinking. They don't expect you're going to have an answer within 5 seconds of them asking the question. They want to see that you're thinking and they want to see that you're reflective. So take 10 seconds. It's so long and it's so painful, I know, but take 10 seconds to find an answer and to piece out what you're going to be saying to them. Because there's nothing worse than yeah, that's so painful. Do not do that to anybody who's interviewing you. Silence, while it might feel bad on your end, is going to feel so much better on their end than any filler sounds. Let's think what else. Yeah, when answering questions, going back to the idea that you're trying to provide a story or a way to back up what you're saying, but when they ask general questions like, why did you choose this company? You're going to want to speak honestly. And you're not going to want to speak overly honestly. You're not going to say to them, oh, I just found you guys online. I thought you were interesting. I don't know. I just applied for this job. You're going to want to show that you have some passion for this job and for this company. For example, when I applied for Geico, I just kind of found this post on Facebook that like one of my friends of friends had posted. They're like, Geico's hiring, you guys should do it. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I don't know, 16 an hour. I'm kind of interested in that job. I don't care for insurance. I'm Geico, whatever. But they have some funny commercials, so I think I'll apply for them. That's what was honestly going on in my head. But when I was asked that question, I gave them a legit honest answer, but not the full honest answer. I told them that I heard about this job posting from a friend of a friend I was connected with, that I knew Geico was a really good company, which is absolutely true. I've heard a lot about Geico. I've seen all the commercials. I did point out the commercials. I'm like, and you guys have some of the funniest commercials that really makes me excited about when they come on. I really love watching them. And I really think that this is a good, legit, strong company that can provide a lot for the people who are working for it. Completely honest answer, totally honest, exactly what they're going to hear because it praises the company and it also gives your honest opinion. And of course, you're not going to outright lie to them either. There's a fine line between too honest and very not honest. So you're not going to say, oh, well, I've been following your company for 30 years now. I've waited for an opportunity for like this to come up. And don't spin a lie. Don't weave yourself a lie because the last thing they want is going to be an employee who's not truthful or who's not really talking about everything that they should just to make them sound like you're good. You don't want to falsify yourself because when you get into that role, then you have to be living a false reality or you have to dump everything and start your personality again. And the company's going to feel like they hired someone they didn't even know, and that's not going to reflect very well on you. trying to think what other common questions you might get asked other than the elevator pitch. The tell me about yourself. You're on your own. Sorry, you guys got to figure that one out for yourself. But the
I
tell me
saw
about
a
yourself.
TikTok just the other day that when they ask you that, they're really asking, why should I hire you?
Mhm.
So tell me about yourself doesn't mean, well, I was born in Arkansas and it's why should I hire you?
Yeah. Tell me about yourself is 30 seconds of I've got these cool skills, you have these cool opportunities. Let's make this a thing. Was there any particular interview questions that you see come up or that you've heard of that sparked your interest of, oh my gosh, how do I answer this?
Well, the one thing I want to say about interview questions, it's kind of what came up when we did our last workshop was, yes, they're going to ask you about you, but go into the interview wanting to interview them.
Mhm.
You know, flip it on them. And that's something to always think about. So as far as those interview questions, think about what you really want to know about the company and what makes, you know, that I think you come from a position of strength. It's like, sell me. Why should I work here? I have 10 opportunities. You had 2 solid opportunities. Why? Convince me why I should choose yours.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I think that comes, but then like you said, you have to do the research. You want to find out about the people. And I think when you come with that position of power, it gives you that confidence and that feeling that, you know, it's like, hey, I can walk away from this. It's not going to hurt me. You know, that you don't want to come from that position of weakness. So build your strength with your questions. Flip the switch. And what would you say would be the key questions to ask the company or to be looking for?
Yeah, so like definitely you talked about you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. The only difference between that is that they are externally interviewing you and you are internally interviewing them. So while you can ask questions like, okay, yeah, tell me about the day-to-day of this job, or what are you really proud of with this company, you want to frame it that you're interested in the role, not that you're trying to decide if this is the role for you. The last thing you want to do is to outwardly tell a company, oh, I'm looking at other jobs. I just want to see if you were better. That does not reflect well on you. That like completely turns away the company from wanting to hire you because you look like you're just looking for the best. You probably are. You just don't want to outwardly tell them that. So when you're going through the interviewing them as they're interviewing you kind of thing, you want to be creating all this information internally. You want to be thinking these things rather than outwardly saying them. If you like run back to your car and you start writing down all your notes, yeah, that's just fine with the information you're getting from them. But when you're presenting yourself, a lot of it externally is selling yourself rather than them selling themselves to you. So understanding that they know you're learning, they know that you're learning if this is the company you want, but it's more important just like due to the power in the situation that you're trying to learn about them, they're trying to learn about you kind of thing.
But as far as what Oscar was saying, from my experience, because I've joined a job before that I didn't necessarily like. And like you were saying, sometimes when you're between 2 or 3 jobs and you're trying to decide which offer to accept, I feel as if at that point is when you can kind of flip the switch a little bit and then kind of really try to decide of which job is going to be best for you. And in my experience, the best way to try to figure that out is to really try to imagine what your role is going to be. Instead of just going into the job and then they accept you and just saying, oh, okay, so I'll just see how it is. Maybe if it's at all possible to speak to the person or someone else who's in that exact same role, that job, instead of just the people hiring, because maybe they don't know the day-to-day problems that you deal with, that someone else that maybe will have a more straightforward conversation with you will tell. Because like you said, you don't want to take a job position and let a different one go and then think, man, I should have taken that other job, and then now you have to get out of that job, which can also be a problem sometimes after you go through all the HR and then all the the billing and everything for them to be able to, the payroll for everything to be able to pay you. So
Yeah.
if you have multiple options, I do think it would be helpful to try to speak to someone who's in that role currently, if there's multiple people, and to see if you can get their feedback as well.
Yeah, and especially if this is like not a front of the lines job, if this is more of like a management job or something, you know, higher up kind of job, if you have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's in the role, the person who's leaving the role, or even the direct supervisor of that role, if you feel comfortable talking to the hiring agent or whoever's interviewing you, saying, this sounds really cool. I'd love to learn more about what the job is like from the person who's working it, leaving it, above it, etc. If you feel comfortable asking them about that and talking to them about it, go for it. It is really critical that you know this job and you feel comfortable in that job. And sometimes talking like that is what does the job for you.
Could you give us your 30-second elevator pitch?
Guys, you seem this is everybody's response when they say elevator pitch. I have spent the past year doing my elevator pitch so many times, and every time somebody asks me, that is still my response. So you are not alone. Okay. Here's my elevator pitch. So my name is Rachel. I was born and raised in Colorado, where I was fortunate enough to go to school at the University of Colorado at Boulder, where I got to study business management with an emphasis in strategy and entrepreneurship. And while I was in college, I had a lot of amazing opportunities, including jobs, internships, and coursework. One that I'm really proud of I got to spend a summer in Tokyo, Japan, where I got to work for a local rubber manufacturing firm. I got to work a lot of translations with them. And while I was in college, I also got to work as a leasing agent for a local company. And I had the opportunity to learn a whole bunch of different industries while I was in college. And then, of course, coming out of college in the middle of the pandemic, I had a variety of different jobs where I got to see the tourism industry, the local industries, and I got to understand the world around me and develop a whole bunch of different customer forward-facing skills that has brought me into the place I am now, working customer service representative for Geico, which is an insurance company where I'd never worked before. So it's not perfectly 30 seconds, but it's short and sweet and kind of brings in me without going into too much depth.
I think Oscar should have to do one after putting you on the spot. Like,
okay, Oscar, where's your 30 seconds?
30-second pitch.
That's okay.
Okay, no, I can do it. I'll do it. I always want to get on the court. Okay.
You got your racket?
Okay, I gotta do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Your whole life. Your whole career.
Let's see. Okay. My name's Oscar Carlson, and I've been working for the Walt Disney World Company for over 20 years, mostly in finance, but I've taken on any other role that they've given me. I work any customer service for extra hours, for fun, to reconnect with families, friends. I enjoy Disney. I enjoy bringing joy and happiness to people. But beyond that, I speak 3 languages. I've lived in Europe over 17 years. I'm a veteran. I've been in the military. I've been a tank officer. I've done parachuting, and I can bring enthusiasm and power and leadership to any situation.
For no preparation, that was stunning. Like, I saved this from the recording when George posted. That was very well done, very well put together for an elevator pitch.
Okay.
You didn't mention Toastmasters, though. You should have mentioned Toastmasters.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's the minute one.
Yeah.
There's only so much information you can put into 30 seconds,
right,
as you saw.
But that, truly, when you get right down to it, and you're all my Toastmaster friends, that is my true love. I mean, you probably know that, but it's changed my life so much. And I think of you as such dear friends that really have given me gifts after gifts after gifts. So you're right. Good point. Because you never know who you talk to that will connect. Because that truly has opened the world to me. I mean, even to be here with you guys today, that would never happen. So you're right. Bring that.
So we have hit 12:30, and I do want to say, if you guys need to go, feel free to hop off. Thank you, George. You guys would in the chat. I did just put if you wouldn't mind taking some time to fill that out, give your feedback. It just asks, what did you like? What do you want from us? Because we want to be sure that we keep providing you with all the information. And for anyone who's watching this on YouTube afterwards, all of the links we did put in the Zoom today are going to be available for you in the description of the video. Guys, I have thick skin, just like lay it on me. I really don't care. But if you do have any additional questions, I want to be here to answer them for you guys before we wrap up for the day. If you don't want to speak it out loud, put it in the chat or let us know. Just like raise your hand, unmute your mic, just hit us with it.
Yeah, well, I have a quick question. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, my thing is, Rachel, what is your purpose in life? Ultimately, it's what do you feel that you're about and what you want to contribute to the world?
This is such a philosophical question. If I ever got that in a job interview, I'd probably panic for like 3 seconds. Like, what answer do I give them? Because I feel that my purpose in life is compassion, and it's just being there to support people in whatever their walks are, whatever their path is, and just being there to be like this like light and this foundation. It just in whatever they're facing and whatever they're dealing with, just being there to take what I have to support them and build them up.
Thank you. That's a wonderful purpose. And you know what? I align with that. I feel like in some ways that's how we connected, because who's ever in front of me, that's my purpose, to make a difference, to help them. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eric,
go ahead, Eric.
My question was, I missed a few of the sessions. I was wondering where exactly on YouTube can I find the other session? Do I just type in your name and then you have your own page, or?
Yeah, I do have it here. I found the playlist. George is the one who posted them on YouTube, but I'm the one who's put together a playlist of all of them. That is going to be the link that just came up in the chat. So when George posts them, I put them into that link, and we'll have them all gathering there.
So Eric, if you can remember my name, you can find it.
That's true.
It's under your page?
Yeah. I have a channel up there. I got 100 of them up there already, and you're in many of them.
I've seen your YouTube page before. All right, I see it. Thanks.
Do you have any other questions from you guys that you wanted?
Oh, what's your next workshop?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to take a lot of feedback from the forums, and I'm also going to chat with Toastmasters and everybody else in my life to figure out what people want. If they want a review of things we've talked about in the past, or if there's a new topic I didn't manage to cover in these times, I'm going to work on putting that together. And I hope that I'm going to put it out during fall. You don't really have seasons down here, so like fall time. Like I'm hoping to put this around sometimes when the parks start celebrating Halloween, like that September to November time frame. So we're going to put this out during theme park Halloween.
Yeah, well, my wish is that somehow I could be part of the next project, whatever that is. And I would love to tie it in, since we are kind of a Disney family, tie it into somehow building an event or something that brings us back to the Disney parks, and maybe we do some activity together. But that whole idea of connection, that's my dream, and bringing us there to have fun with families and friends. But that's a thought, but it's just throwing it out there. But I will participate if you want with whatever you're up to.
All right. So just to give everybody,
Okay,
we're
bye-bye.
going to finish up. Thank you guys for coming out. If you would be so kind enough to fill out that form,
Sure.
just so we can get an idea of what y'all want coming next. And guys, thank you again. Thank you for everybody who's been on this path with us as we've been putting out these seminars. Thank you for everybody who's attended, and for everybody who's going to be watching it online. I see you guys. I don't see you guys, but I see you guys. So thank you all. I hope you got something, even the slightest bit of something out of this, and that it was fun and worth your time. So thank you all again.